to this midweek refuel at Pierce Chapel United Methodist Church. We're coming to you in Georgia, technically, but we're just outside Columbus. I'm Lynn Meadows White, and I'm one of the pastors here at Pierce Chapel, and I'm so glad you're with us tonight for this brief time of refuel in the middle of a week. And if you're watching right now during Facebook Live, I encourage you to click that share button so that others in our community and wherever they are in this world might have a chance to be blessed by what they'll hear tonight. Thanks for taking this time apart, just a little pause in the middle of the week, in the middle of what I think of as some stressful days right now in our lives. I hope you'll be able to seek some refreshment tonight, because I believe that the only true refreshment that we're going to find in these stressful days is in the presence of a loving and faithful and life-giving God, the one who knows us best and the one who loves us best. So welcome to this time of refreshment. I don't know what you're feeling these days. I don't know where you are and what you're going through, but I can make some guesses based on some of the folks that I know right here in our own church, in our own community. As a pastor, I have the privilege of seeing glimpses of the best and the worst in people's lives. To put it simply, I think right now is pretty hard. Right now, in the lives of so many people that I know and love, things are tough. Life is hard. Just in my own little world, the world that I know about, these are some things people are facing. Grief over the loss of loved ones, some frightening medical diagnoses, and some very difficult treatments, heartache during divorce proceedings, worries about adult children, mental health struggles, just generalized stress over the constant tension and fighting and blaming in our political world, no matter what side of the aisle you identify with. Angst over the injustices that we see in our world and a genuine wrestling with how to respond faithfully. And deep concern over how we attempt to resume life in this COVID-19 world that we're living in. These are just a few of the struggles that I'm aware of in the lives of people that I know. One man that I was talking with this morning said, "I just feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders." Now, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you listening to this tonight feel that way right now. For many of us, there's just a heaviness about life in these days, very uncertain days, a heaviness that I'm experiencing and that people in the circles that I'm in are experiencing. Yesterday, I was in yet another Zoom meeting, and a well-respected pastor in our community said he just wanted to put a bag over his head so that when his head explodes with all of the information that we're having to take in about how to reopen and relaunch our churches, when that explosion happens, he said, I at least want that bag to contain everything right there that I'm supposed to be knowing and thinking about and planning for. Life just feels stressful right now for a lot of folks. And I'll tell you, yesterday was that way for me. But in the midst of what I thought was a tough day yesterday, I received an email from one of you, a very faithful follower of Christ, a Pierce Chapel member. He and I were just exchanging some information about some church stuff. But at the end of his brief email, he concluded with this simple blessing to me. He wrote, "May God's favor continue to shine upon all that you do." That one sentence stopped me in my tracks. I read it again and then just took a few moments to sit and cry. It was a simple blessing, a simple heartfelt prayer, really, that God's favor, God's gracious kindness would be upon me. I was touched, I was moved by his prayer for me. I can't fully explain why it affected me the way that it did in that moment, Nothing changed about my circumstances yesterday when I read that. And yet reading it reminded me of the power of a simple blessing. It reminded me that no matter what's happening in this big world, no matter what's happening in my own little tiny world, apart from anything I can do or can't do, God is present. God is gracious. And God not only loves me, but God is for me. And God wants to shower his favor, his blessing upon me. That was good news to my weighed down heart yesterday. That simple blessing reminded me that amidst all the striving and the uncertainty and the anxiety of these days, I need to take a moment to rest and remind myself that the God of the universe is, first of all, still God, still powerful, still faithful, still loving, still providing, still holding me and all of creation so tenderly in the palm of his hand. With that one simple blessing, my heart felt lifted. I grew up in the St. Simon's United Methodist Church in St. Simon's Island, and I was part of what we used to call MYF, Methodist Youth Fellowship. Maybe some of you know that term. In my teenage years in the 70s, one of the trademarks of every MYF meeting, not just at my church, but at every Methodist church that I knew of, one of the trademarks was the way we ended our meetings every Sunday night. We would gather in a circle. Of course, this was not during social distancing days, but we would gather in a circle. We would cross our arms like this and hold hands with crossed arms. And we would all say together the blessing from Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 through 26. Here's that blessing. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance, his face upon you, and give you peace. Does that sound familiar? Decades later, I still remember that blessing. It still lifts my soul. And I hope it might lift your soul tonight. Whatever you might be wrestling with tonight, whether it feels light or heavy, I invite you to take a rest for just a few more moments and to listen to this blessing as it is sung and played by Elizabeth and Jack and Sam. And as they sing, I invite you to imagine yourself and all those you love. Perhaps it's your children and their children and their children. Imagine yourself and all those you love resting securely in the arms of God. The words that they're going to sing include these. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. May his favor be upon you in 1,000 generations, your family and your children and their children and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you. He is with you. In the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and your rejoicing. He is for you. He is for you. All around you and within you. He is with you. He is with you. In the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and your rejoicing. He is for you. Amen.
Shine upon May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his favor